Under this gaze, Wang Ping felt a chill run through his body, as if there were no secrets left in him, all laid bare for the other party to see clearly and thoroughly. Wang Lin's strength had already touched the bottom line of Thunder Daoist. Unless absolutely necessary, he was reluctant to use his primordial power divine ability, for primordial energy was far too rare. With his cultivation level, he preferred not to use it lightly unless it was a matter of life or death. After all, each use prolonged his stay within the yin and yang realm. If he couldn't break through within 1,000 years, his cultivation would stagnate for life. With less than 300 years left, he was particularly hesitant to expend his primordial power. Right now, what worried him the most was that lightning. Thunder Daoist analyzed that this lightning must be related to the other person's artistic conception. If he could break through that conception, perhaps he wouldn't need to use his primordial power divine ability to win this battle. Let me take another look. Oh, so, it turns out to be a grudge infant. I sensed something was off earlier. How could a mortal withstand my divine sense? At first, I thought the puppet was assisting it, but it seems I was mistaken. Thunder Daoist laughed heartily while his words, calm yet laced with malice, suddenly hit a halt. His eyes widened in shock as he looked into Wang Ping's, revealing an intense, almost overwhelming horror. This is sword chi. It's terrifying. Thunder Daoist gasped, retreating immediately. His scalp tingled as he had just seen two sword chis within Wang Ping's body. A madman. This person is insane. To use such formidable sword chi to solidify the soul essence into a physical body. I cannot fight him. I must retreat quickly. Thunder Daoist trembled, decisively quickening his pace, heading straight for the Thunder Beast. The two sword chis within Wang Ping completely frightened him. Wang Ping remained silent, staring blankly at his father's silhouette ahead, not uttering a word for a long time. Wang Lin's eyes were bloodshot as he fixed his gaze on the retreating Thunder Daoist. Had it not been for Ling Tianho's sword chi no longer residing in his body, he would have unleashed it entirely, determined to slay the man. Without hesitation, he lifted his great sword and slashed downward. The primordial power, combined with his essence spirit, instantly released a stream of energy into the sword, dissipating into the world. As Thunder Daoist withdrew, his expression shifted. He immediately sensed a terrifying aura abruptly descending from the heavens. Primordial power divine ability. How could you possibly wield a primordial power divine ability? Thunder Daoist's face changed drastically, and for a moment, he felt a sense of life and death crisis. After all, he was not as powerful as the patriarch of the Phantom Clan, who had truly reached the early glimpse of Nirvana stage. Even with his weakened cultivation, he was still much stronger than an ordinary yin and yang cultivator. In the midst of crisis, he immediately pointed his right hand at his brow, his eyes flashing with a white light. This light, though soft, emanated a power of heaven and earth. In an instant, a portion of the primordial energy in his body surged forth, directly bursting out from his heavenly spirit. At that moment, the entire world trembled. An almost imperceptible aura spread throughout the surroundings. Thunder Daoist's face turned pale, clearly showing that casting his primordial power divine ability was a substantial burden for him. Primordial Thunder Cauldron. Thunder Daoist shouted lowly as more primordial energy was released from the top of his head, causing a transformation in the heavens. This transformation was real, not an illusion. The sky slowly descended, and the surroundings began to collapse. The ground gradually rose amid the thundering sounds, shaking violently beneath Thunder Daoist's feet. The change in the world was completed in an instant. There were no heavens or earths anymore, only a massive blue cauldron. The world transformed into a giant cauldron. The sky served as its lid, and the ground as its body. This was the manifestation of the primordial power divine ability. At that moment, the beast from the Thunder Immortal Palace, engaged in battle with Wang Lin's Thunder Beast, roared and, dragging its battered body, turned into a streak of lightning and landed on the cauldron. Suddenly, the seemingly empty surface of the cauldron gradually revealed intricately carved figures. Those carved figures were indeed the Thunder Beast. Su Mu, this is my primordial power divine ability. Let's see between you and me, who can survive. As the world transformed into a giant cauldron, Thunder Daoist's voice echoed, powerful and authoritative. Inside the cauldron, thunder roared chaotically, and countless bolts of lightning wildly appeared, boundless and relentless. The cauldron, now a furnace of heavenly and earthly energies, began its refining process as the lightning multiplied. Wang Lin's sword simply descended, yet an unusual aura pervaded the entire cauldron, containing the rules of the universe. The strike did not target any material object, but rather the very laws of existence. Bolts of lightning crashed down, constantly striking toward Wang Lin. These lightning bolts were not born from heaven and earth, but were instead shaped by Thunder Daoist thoughts, containing not just divine abilities, but also principles. The severing nether technique descended. In Wang Lin's eyes, in that instant, it transformed into a colossal cauldron of heaven and earth, but it seemed to turn illusory. Blue lines spread out in all directions, and these lines formed the vast cauldron of heaven and earth. With a single sword strike, the lines collapsed one by one, shattering rapidly like breaking bamboo. In the world, a muffled grunt escaped from Lei Daoist. At the same time, more primordial energy surged from his body, once again forming these lines to maintain the integrity of the cauldron. Immediately after, more Dao thought thunder rumbled down. Each bolt that struck Wang Lin caused his body to shake. Were it not for his mutated soul, any cultivator aiming for the heavenly sovereign realm would have disintegrated into smoke under the barrage of so many Dao thought thunder. A colder glint flickered in Wang Lin's eyes. In that instant, the immortal guard puppet, also enveloped in the technique, swung its fists wildly, smashing all around. The entire world seemed to tremble at this moment. Although the lightning here was ferocious, the immortal guard puppet's body was even sturdier, and not a single part could be destroyed. Each of its punches was equivalent to a Yin deficiency divine ability, landing on the great cauldron and posing the greatest threat to Lei Daoist. In addition to the immortal guard, the thunder beast also roared, its entire body glowing with lightning. The silver on its horns, at that moment, shimmered with a touch of golden light. Boundless lightning emanated from its body, spreading out in all directions, shaking the cauldron even more violently. Lei Daoist's muffled grunt echoed again, as primordial energy surged from his body, merging into the giant cauldron. Let me refine this. Wang Lin's expression darkened. The primordial energy in his soul was not as powerful as Lei Daoist's. The full power of the severing nether technique could not be unleashed. Just as the patriarch of the Phantom Clan had said in the past, if Wang Lin had reached the second step, even in the Yin-Yang Void realm, using the severing nether technique would have greatly increased its power. His gaze flickered. Wang Lin sheathed his great sword and looked at the thunder beast, whose body was surrounded by lightning. Biting his fingertip, he drew a complex rune with his blood. The rune exuded a sense of antiquity, as though it carried the passage of time. The moment the rune appeared, the thunder beast in the distance trembled, turned its massive head, and gazed at Wang Lin. The third seal open. Wang Lin waved his right hand. The rune flickered, piercing through the lightning and sealing onto the thunder beast's forehead. The thunder beast's body violently shook. A painful expression appeared on its face, and a shocking roar erupted from its mouth. Its body trembled, and a row of sharp spines sprouted from its back, flashing cold gleams and crackling with intense lightning. A mighty aura suddenly surged within the cauldron. This aura emanated an overwhelming might, one that could defy the heavens, let alone this primordial energy divine ability. In an instant, the thunder beast's body grew several times larger. The lightning on its body, previously silver, turned black. Black lightning, with a hint of destruction, erupted from the thunder beast's body. The beast roared again, leaping into the air. A complex beast language reverberated from its mouth. In that instant, the thunder beast on the cauldron of the Thunder Immortal Palace trembled violently, and it was forcefully transformed out of it, landing on the ground, not daring to lift its head. It had previously thought its kin was stronger than itself, but its pride had made it brave enough to fight. However, at this moment, a deep fear emerged from its soul. That kin now seemed to transform into an ancestor from a distant era, unresistible. With the third seal broken, The Thunder Beast's body crackled with lightning. In an instant, this lightning reached its peak, with endless black bolts of lightning exploding from its body, forming black thunderstorm after thunderstorm, crashing outward in a violent expansion. The Immortal Guard, at this moment, also radiated brilliant golden light. The golden light slowly turned reddish, like a glowing orange. The power within its fists grew heavier. Boom! The thunderstorm roared, spreading across the entire world cauldron. The cauldron instantly cracked with countless fissures, continuing to split. Boom! The Immortal Guard's fist struck madly against the cauldron, causing even more cracks to appear. The massive force impacted the surrounding heavens and earth. Lei Daoist's primordial energy surged even more fiercely, as he had no time to mourn the loss of his energy. This battle was the most difficult one he had faced since becoming an emissary of the Thunder Immortal Palace. A battle of life and death. However, the speed at which his primordial energy merged into the cauldron was clearly slower than that of the Thunder Beast, who had broken the third seal, or the Immortal Guard puppet, who had unleashed its divine abilities. In this critical moment, Wang Lin's eyes grew colder. This time, he did not draw his great sword. Instead, he raised his right hand, his two fingers forming a sword, and slashed downward, severing nether. Boom! An indescribable explosion echoed through the heavens and earth. The cauldron shattered in that instant, breaking into countless pieces, flying in all directions with a thunderous explosion. On each fragment, black lightning flickered, and the sounds of cracking filled the air. The fragments shattered a second time. Wang Lin's face was as pale as death. After executing the severing nether technique twice in succession, the primordial energy in his nascent soul had already been severely depleted. His cultivation seemed to have even shown signs of regression. If his energy dropped even a little more, he feared he would fall to a lower stage. He swayed slightly, and the world around him returned to normal. Landing on the ground, Wang Lin took a deep breath. Although his complexion was still bloodless and pale, the cold glint in his eyes had grown even stronger. Between heaven and earth, the figure of Thunder Daoist flickered into existence. He spat out a large mouthful of blood, turned, and fled. He was terrified. Despite fighting countless battles in his life, he'd never encountered something as bizarre as this. The opponent was merely a nascent soul cultivator, yet his divine abilities and spells sent a chill down his spine. Especially the two-sword chi that had left him shaking with fear. He cursed his slow speed. The Immortal Guard puppet flickered and pursued closely, while the Thunder Beast roared and joined in the chase. Gradually, they disappeared into the distance. "Dad, is what he said true?" Wang Ping's voice sounded faintly. During the battle just now, Thunder Daoist's divine abilities had not affected Wang Ping and Qingyi. From his perspective, he didn't want to provoke the two-sword chi inside Wang Ping's body, no matter what. Wang Lin's face was extremely pale as he slowly turned to face Wang Ping. After a long silence, he nodded. Wang Ping looked at his father, a gentle smile playing on his lips. His expression was calm and unburdened as he said, "Dad, this is the real reason why you didn't want me to cultivate. It's also why Qingyi and I haven't had children up until now, because I have already died." Wang Lin's eyes filled with sorrow as he gazed at Wang Ping, softly saying, "You didn't die." Wang Ping shook his head, smiling. "Dad, you once taught me that when encountering a mountain, we step over it. When crossing a river, we jump over it. Even in the face of heaven and earth, we can go against the flow." "Dad, thank you. Actually, I've known the answer to this for a long time. I just wasn't brave enough to face it, to seek the truth. Why can't I cultivate? Why have I never had children? Why, for more than 70 years, have I never gotten sick, nor have I ever felt truly exhausted? And why, even though I know my time has come, does my body feel nothing? Now I understand." Wang Ping looked at Wang Lin. His smile was filled with a sense of freedom, but there was also a trace of deep reluctance. "Dad, I, Wang Ping, have no mother. All I have is you, my father. Thank you for your company." There was a hint of tears in Wang Ping's eyes, but when he blinked, he realized that there were no tears. "So, it turns out I don't even have tears." Wang Ping gazed bitterly at his father, whispering, "Dad, take care. I wasn't able to fulfill my promise, I won't be able to accompany you through countless lifetimes. The sorrow in Wang Lin's eyes deepened. After Lu Mei entrusted Wang Ping to him, he had given the child pills, and even used Thunder-based divine powers to expel most of the resentment. Yet, he had realized that Wang Ping had actually died long ago. The life of a mortal is short, even for a grudge infant. What remains is but a fragment of the soul, wrapped in resentment, unable to reincarnate. This was the essence of a grudge infant. The fragment of the soul Lu Mei left for Wang Lin was that very soul, incapable of cultivation. If cultivation were attempted, the resentment would erupt, and the soul would dissipate completely. Wang Ping could never secretly cultivate from Wang Lin because his body was a sword qi transformed into flesh. One sword qi transformed into his physical body, while another sword qi guarded the resentful soul. This was Wang Ping. His growth had actually been nothing more than a spell. For over 70 years, Wang Ping, who grew up under Wang Lin's teachings, was the very essence of Wang Lin's divine will. Your promise will be fulfilled. Trust me. Wang Lin spoke softly. Wang Ping looked at his father, holding Qing Yi's hand. He spoke gently. Dad, let Qing Yi go. He turned back and gave Qing Yi a deep, lingering look, a soft smile at the corner of his mouth. If there is a next life, if I can be reincarnated, Qing Yi, I will come find you. Tears rolled down Qing Yi's cheeks as she opened her mouth to speak. Wang Ping shook his head with a smile. He looked up at the sky, his voice soft. Dad, Qing Yi, I'm leaving. There was a deep sense of reluctance in Wang Ping's eyes. He wanted to be with Qing Yi, to stay with his father, always, forever. In a daze, it seemed as though he had returned to his childhood, to the 19 years in that mountain village, drinking medicine every day. A happy smile appeared on his lips. Dad, the medicine is so bitter. It was as if he could see his father using divine powers to dispel the resentment within his body every night. He saw the medicinal soup not being absorbed by his body, but instead merging into his soul. Because his body could not absorb the medicine, it seemed as if he saw his own body, but in reality, it was a streak of golden sword qi. It felt as if he saw beyond his own soul, wrapped once again in that same golden sword qi. No wonder. I always dreamed as a child, as if I was in a golden world. Wang Ping's eyes closed. In that instant, his physical body flickered with golden light, transforming into a streak of sword qi that hovered around Wang Lin. Immediately after, another sword qi emerged. On the ground, only a white light orb quietly floated, with a black thread weaving through it. That black thread was the last trace of resentment. Wang Lin stared blankly at the light orb for a long while. He raised his right hand and gently brushed over it. The black thread vanished. Having experienced a cycle of reincarnation, Wang Lin finally dispelled all the resentment his child had carried, leaving not a trace behind. Tears, rare in his eyes, glistened as he held the light orb, as if cradling the infant from years ago. As the wind blew, signs of the orb dissipating began to show. But Wang Lin did not let go. He knew that if he did, Wang Ping, free from resentment, would enter reincarnation. Pinger, your promise will be fulfilled. Wang Lin pressed the light orb to his forehead, merging it with the heavenly reversal, placing it next to Li Muin's nascent soul. From now on, your mother is Xun'er. Wang Lin turned and walked into the distance. Father, Qing Yi kneeled on the ground, sorrow in her eyes no less than Wang Lin's. Father, I have made a promise with Wang Ping. Even if it's the netherworld, I will accompany him. Take me with you. Even if it means becoming a soul, as long as I can stay with Wang Ping. Father, you told me to stay by his side forever. Qing Yi spoke softly, tears in her eyes. Do you not regret it? No regrets. Wang Lin left, and with him went Qing Yi's unrepentant soul. His figure, under the setting sun, gradually transformed from old to young. His once gray hair turned black again, his slightly hunched body straightened, and under the sunset, the Wang Lin of 70 years ago slowly walked toward the void. A cycle of reincarnation came to an end. In the void, Wang Lin's black hair swirled in the wind. His eyes, devoid of joy or sorrow, seemed to see through everything in this world. In this life, not only had Wang Ping gone through reincarnation, but so had Wang Lin himself. His cultivation had broken through the early stages of the peak-reaching stage, advancing to the middle stage. His conceptual realm, through the experiences and realizations of this life, had reached the late peak-reaching stage. With enough immortal jade, Wang Lin was confident he could truly become a powerhouse in the late peak-reaching stage. The yin-yang void reality. Among them, yin deficiency cultivators I can defeat, though it would be extremely difficult, and each battle consumes a bit of the heaven and earth primordial energy. Right now, my primordial energy is at its limit, and I cannot afford to waste any more. As for yang fulfillment cultivators, they are simply beyond my reach. Encountering them means I must flee. A contemplative look appeared in Wang Lin's eyes. The first and second steps of cultivation truly form a vast chasm, one that cannot be easily crossed. Even if my cultivation reaches the late peak-reaching stage, without enough primordial energy, facing cultivators of the yin-yang void reality, I will still be defeated. But how can I obtain this primordial energy? Wang Lin stepped through the void, soon breaking through the astral wind layer, heading straight for the starry sky, toward where the immortal guard puppet and Thunder Beast were chasing in his divine sense. Behind him, the Thunder Beast from the Thunder Immortal Palace followed, maintaining a certain distance. Right now, the most important thing is to obtain enough immortal jade, and also find a way to increase the heaven and earth primordial energy. Wang Lin's eyes flickered with determination. In the starry sky, he tapped his storage pouch, and the star compass suddenly flew out. Wang Lin sat cross-legged upon it, his body turning into a streak of silver light as he sped toward the distant, dazzling expanse of the starry sky. Behind him, the Thunder Beast hesitated for a moment, then turned into a bolt of thunder, rumbling as it chased after him. Wang Lin had long known that the Thunder Beast was behind him. He unleashed his full speed, heading straight for the Immortal Guard. Silver light streaked across the sky, tearing through the void with a sharp, howling sound, like a rainbow cutting through the heavens. After a while, Wang Lin's eyes flashed coldly, and the sound of booming grew louder. He saw from afar that Lei Daoist was in an extremely miserable state. His hands, glowing with thunder, were retreating step by step as he fought with the Immortal Guard puppet. Around him, the Thunder Beast, having broken the third seal, roared as it rampaged, especially the horns on its head, which unleashed a powerful thunderous light, forcing Lei Daoist to hastily dodge. His face, pale with a hint of despair, betrayed his panic. Lei Daoist immediately noticed the silver light speeding toward him. When he saw it was Wang Lin, his eyes filled with even more despair. His primordial energy had already been nearly exhausted, and if he used any more, his cultivation would fall, making it impossible for him to ever reach the yang fulfillment realm again. Moreover, he was terrified, especially of those two streaks of sword chi. Wang Lin's gaze grew colder. This Lei Daoist must die. As an emissary of the Thunder Immortal Palace, if he escaped, it would surely bring endless trouble in the future. Wang Lin slapped his storage pouch, and immediately, 7 treasured swords flew out, shimmering with crystal light, forming the 7 stars sword formation. The swords hummed as they sliced through the air, heading straight for Lei Daoist. The Immortal Guard puppet glowed with orange-red light as it threw a punch. Lei Daoist crossed his arms in front of him, blocking the strike. As thunder rumbled, he stepped back, and at the same time, the Thunder Beast behind him, its thunder horns crackling, unleashed a thick purple bolt of lightning, heading straight for Lei Daoist's back. Lei Daoist's face darkened. Along this journey, he had been relentlessly attacked by this beast and puppet, unable to escape at full speed. Moreover, without the Thunder Beast, although he could still fly through the starry sky, his speed was noticeably slower. At this moment, the 7-star sword formation howled as it circled around Lei Daoist. Sword chi with chilling light pierced through the air. As it surged forward, Lei Daoist slapped his storage pouch, pulling out a jade slip flashing with lightning. He crushed it, and instantly, lightning erupted from within, wrapping around him and forming a thunder barrier. The 7-star sword formation struck the barrier, causing a series of loud bangs. The thunder barrier shook violently, and inside it, Lei Daoist glared at Wang Lin and urgently said, "Su Daoist, this is my recklessness. Why push it to the point of extermination? I am from the Thunder Immortal Palace. If you kill me, you will be unable to move freely in the Luotian star domain. Not killing you will make it equally impossible for me to move freely. Wang Lin's voice was cold. He slapped his storage pouch, and immediately, the soul banner flew out. The 3-meter-tall banner materialized with a chilling wail, its piercing sound strong enough to shake the soul. With a shake, the souls on the soul banner all flew out. Among these souls were those of infant metamorphosis, and even some of the soul masters who had reached the threshold of the divine realm. Especially after the return of the fourth soul, although the number of souls had not reached 1 billion, the power of this soul banner was now even more formidable than it was back on the Vermilion Bird Star. After all, there were too many souls with immense divine abilities. Countless souls spread out, surrounding the area, and then the great souls began to merge, forming 3 ultimate primordial souls in an instant. The first of the primordial souls was a gigantic Qilin, covered in black gas, with icy eyes glowing fiercely, radiating an intense aura of ferocity. The second was a massive 3-zhang-tall figure, his body enveloped in black gas. His soul power was incredibly dense, and an overwhelming presence that could shake the very soul emanated from him. The third was a black needle, invisible to the eye and nearly undetectable by divine sense. Its true form was the most mysterious fourth soul within the soul banner. These 3 ultimate primordial souls were the result of merging all the souls from the soul banner. They represented Wang Lin's most powerful divine abilities, now on display. Kill, Wang Lin murmured. The 3 ultimate primordial souls immediately moved, charging forward along with the immortal guard puppet, the thunder beast that had just broken its 3rd seal, and the 7 stars sword formation. Together, they launched a deafening assault on the thunder barrier. Lei Daoist's pupils contracted. His face turned pale, and despair flooded his expression. A puppet and a thunder beast had already made it difficult for him to fight back. Now, with the appearance of these 3 powerful soul entities, he knew that if the thunder barrier shattered, his death would be imminent. Sumu, do not force me. Lei Daoist's eyes turned red. He glared at Wang Lin with a fierce gaze. As an emissary of the Thunder Immortal Palace, each of us possesses a life-saving divine ability. If it comes to it, I'll sacrifice my lifespan. Lei Daoist's heart sank. If he used the life-saving ability, and his primordial energy was insufficient, it would deplete his lifespan. At that point, not only would his lifespan be reduced, but his cultivation would also regress significantly, perhaps even all the way back to the infant metamorphosis stage. But the most important thing was that he wasn't sure if this life-saving technique would actually harm the opponent. After all, Wang Lin's divine abilities and magic treasures were numerous, and especially those 2 sword chi. Thinking about them made Lei Daoist's scalp tingle. Once he used his life-saving ability, he feared it would still lead to his demise. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm as he slowly spoke. It is you who are forcing me, not the other way around. We have no irreconcilable hatred. What will it take for you to let me go? Lei Daoist asked bitterly. Wang Lin stared at Lei Daoist within the thunder barrier, pondering for a moment before replying. Acknowledge me as your master, and let me leave my mark on you. Lei Daoist fell silent. The thunder barrier around his body, under the fierce external attack, was about to collapse. Grinding his teeth, he looked up and said, "Fine, I agree." A cruel light flashed in his heart. He thought to himself, this person's cultivation is not as strong as mine. Even if he marks me as a slave, it won't last long. Once my primordial energy recovers, I will surely escape, report to the Thunder Immortal Palace, and kill him in revenge. Disperse the thunder barrier, Wang Lin said slowly. Lei Daoist hesitated for a moment. By now, the thunder barrier was on the verge of collapse. His eyes flashed, and with a wave of his right hand, the barrier instantly dissipated. As it vanished, Lei Daoist's heart skipped a beat. The 7-star sword formation was now pressed closely against his body, while the immortal guard puppet's fist was only 3 inches away from his chest, motionless. Nearby, the thunder beast's eyes crackled with lightning as it made a sharp popping sound, its gaze filled with hostility. Around them, 3 ultimate prime souls floated in the distance, wandering aimlessly. From time to time, their cold eyes fixed on Lei Daoist. Wang Lin stared at Lei Daoist, an odd gleam rising in his eyes. With a slap of his storage pouch, the restriction banner flew out. Wang Lin pointed with his right hand, and everything inside the banner shot out, forming a glowing array of restrictions in front of him. With a gesture of his left hand, he pressed it against the array, and the light instantly blazed, shooting toward Lei Daoist. Lei Daoist didn't dodge. Instead, he gritted his teeth and allowed the restriction to merge into his forehead, quickly piercing his meridians and heading straight for his nascent soul. At the moment it touched his nascent soul, the restriction array melted away, forming a net that enveloped his nascent soul. He observed inwardly and muttered, "This restriction is strange, but no restriction can withstand the impact of the world's primordial energy. Once my energy recovers, I can break it apart with ease. This is just the first step of the restriction. There's a second step," Wang Lin said, turning around and stepping on the star compass, transforming into a streak of silver light as he rushed into the distance. Lei Daoist had no choice but to follow, with numerous threats moving beside him, forcing him to keep up. From afar, the Thunder Beast of the Thunder Immortal Palace hesitated, then turned to flee. A cold snort from Wang Lin echoed from the void. The Thunder Beast's body trembled, and it dared not escape any longer, following closely behind. As Wang Lin had noticed earlier, not far ahead was a gray planet, clearly abandoned. There was no spiritual energy, and it seemed devoid of life. Wang Lin moved quickly, heading straight for the planet. In no time, he crashed onto its surface. Looking around, the land was a dull gray, and violent storms raged, with a toxic miasma hanging in the air that could instantly kill any mortal. Landing on the ground, Wang Lin's right foot sank, and with a loud rumble, a deep ravine appeared. Wang Lin raised his right hand, his fingers forming a sword, and with a flick, a sword chi shot out, swiftly cutting through the ravine. Soon, a brand new cave mansion was carved out by the sword chi. Wang Lin stepped into the cave, and Lei Daoist, left with no other choice, followed him in. The cave mansion was large, with 4 rooms and a central hall. The walls were crisscrossed with sword chi, and some newly formed ash fell to the ground. Once inside, Wang Lin flicked his sleeves, creating a gust of wind that blew the ash out. Turning to Lei Daoist, a strange glint briefly flashed in Wang Lin's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "Once I mark the second restriction, I won't go for total annihilation." Lei Daoist remained silent, his gaze shifting to the puppets and other threats that had yet to be recalled by Wang Lin. After a long pause, he nodded, "Fine." Wang Lin sat cross-legged and began forming hand seals, sending restrictions flying from his hands. They swiftly entered Lei Daoist's body. At the same time, Wang Lin spoke, "While I place the restriction, you must not resist in your heart. If you do, don't blame me for breaking my promise." Lei Daoist remained silent, closing his eyes. A cold sneer formed in his heart as he thought, "Let's see what kind of method you have for sealing. Once my energy recovers, I can easily break any restriction." A sinister smile appeared at the corner of Wang Lin's mouth. Only by turning Lei Daoist into an immortal guard would he feel completely at ease. Lei Daoist was perfect for creating an immortal guard, and with the Thunder Beast outside, the success rate would increase significantly if the two merged. Even if he failed, it wouldn't matter. Wang Lin would lose nothing. Wang Lin exhaled a breath of nascent soul energy, and it turned into countless runes that floated in midair, descending onto Lei Daoist's body. Lei Daoist shuddered, his eyes snapping open as he stared at Wang Lin. After a long while, he sneered inwardly and closed his eyes once more, allowing Wang Lin's nascent soul energy to enter his body. Just as his eyes closed again, Wang Lin's gaze flashed. He quickly tapped his storage pouch, and the Kunji whip appeared in his hand. He swung it forward with a fierce snap. Lei Daoist's eyes flew open, and he shouted, "What are you doing?" Wang Lin's speed was too fast. The whip cracked with lightning speed, and before Lei Daoist could even finish speaking, a sharp crack sounded as the Kunji whip lashed across his body. It wasn't just one strike. The moment it hit, the Kunji whip lashed 6 times in a blur of speed, landing one after another. The sound of slapping echoed. Lei Daoist's body shook violently, his face turning pale, his eyes dimming. Behind him, his nascent soul was forcibly pulled out, leaving his body 7 feet behind. He was about to make a move to resist, but the immortal guard puppet took a step forward, and the Thunder Beast let out a low growl. The 3 ultimate soul masters also emitted a howling sound that echoed through the cave mansion. At the same time, the 7-star sword formation suddenly unleashed a torrent of sword chi. 7 swords merged into one and slashed down from midair. With these sword chi, 7 evil beast souls roared, violently halting the Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit from attempting to return to his body. Above the Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit, the restriction seal that Wang Lin had previously placed erupted fully at that moment, creating a net of flashing lightning that trapped the Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit tightly. Wang Lin's gaze remained calm. The Thunder Daoist had been severely injured before, with almost all of his primordial energy depleted. To survive, he had no choice but to agree to Wang Lin's terms, which gave Wang Lin a perfect opportunity to craft the Immortal Guard puppet. To craft the Immortal Guard puppet, the first step was ensuring the subject willingly complied. I am not one to break promises, but this second step's restriction seal requires your full consent. If you are unwilling in your heart, it will fail. To prevent accidents, I must forcefully call out your primordial spirit, Wang Lin said flatly. With a wave of his right hand, the Immortal Guard puppet and Thunder Beast closed in on the Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit, ready to act at the slightest sign of resistance. Wang Lin did not glance at the Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit. With both hands, he grasped the primordial spirit and placed it in front of him, setting the Thunder Daoist's storage pouch aside. He then closed his eyes, expelling a breath of primordial spirit chi that spread through the Thunder Daoist's physical body. The Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit was extremely grim. He coldly watched Wang Lin, wanting to see what kind of imprint Wang Lin would place on him. Time passed slowly as Wang Lin's primordial spirit chi continued to flow out, turning into flickers of lightning that entered the Thunder Daoist's body. Days passed, and the Thunder Daoist's body grew increasingly emaciated, finally appearing little more than skin and bones. Yet within it, lightning surged like thunder. Copper-colored light constantly flashed across his body, creating an eerie sight. The Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit, over these days, never blinked. The shock in his eyes grew stronger. At first, he didn't understand what Wang Lin was doing, but after several days, he suddenly realized. Wang Lin was turning him into a puppet. His shock turned to fear, especially when his gaze fell upon the Immortal Guard puppet beside him. Though he was currently in a primordial spirit form, he still felt a chill run through his body. Could it be? Could this puppet really be made in this way by this person? Who is he? How could someone use such vicious methods for crafting a puppet? Wang Lin opened his eyes and looked at the dried corpse, which was now shimmering with copper light. A strange gleam appeared in his eyes. No wonder this body belongs to a Yin deficiency cultivator. Without any gold-based materials, it can already reach the copper grade. If precious heavenly treasures were added, it could even rise higher. Sumu, what are you trying to do? I agreed to be your slave, but I never agreed to become your puppet. The Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit shouted loudly as soon as Wang Lin opened his eyes. Over the past few days, he had shouted many times, but Wang Lin continued with his ritual, completely ignoring him. For days, he had helplessly watched as his body was refined. The feeling made his hatred toward Wang Lin grow immensely. However, he dared not act rashly. The restriction seal on his primordial spirit, along with the Immortal Guard puppet, Thunder Beast, and the 3 ultimate souls surrounding him, made him realize that any attempt to move would be fatal. Shut up. Wang Lin frowned and flicked his right hand. 2 sword chi, imbued with the overbearing intent of Ling Tianho, immediately shot out, filling the entire cave mansion with this oppressive energy. Under this sword chi, the Thunder Daoist instantly fell silent. A tremor ran through his heart, and his fear deepened as he stared at the 2 sword chi. His bitter eyes swept over his surroundings, and he saw that the threats surrounding him were so powerful that even if his primordial energy were replenished, reaching its peak, he wouldn't dare claim to have a certain chance of escaping. The most dangerous thing in his eyes were those 2 sword chi. After the Thunder Daoist's primordial spirit fell silent, Wang Lin's divine sense spread out, filling the desolate planet. After a long while, his eyes sharpened, and he raised his right hand, pointing to the sky. At the same time, a booming sound echoed, and a path to the yellow spring appeared across the horizon outside the cave mansion. Yellow spring power, absorb. Wang Lin spoke coldly. In an instant, the yellow spring in the sky unleashed a massive suction force that was immediately transmitted into the ground. Slowly, the entire desolate planet began to tremble, the shaking intensifying as if it were an earthquake. Soon after, veins of metallic ore shot out from the ground, sucked into the yellow spring. Over time, more ores were pulled out. After a long while, the tremors gradually stopped, and the suction force of the yellow spring disappeared. A large amount of metallic ore had melted inside, forming 3 fist-sized golden liquid spheres that floated out and landed in the cave mansion. Wang Lin grabbed one of the golden liquid spheres with his right hand and pressed it onto Lei Daoist's physical body, right between his brows. Immediately, a burst of soul essence flowed into him. When the third metal liquid sphere disappeared from Lei Daoist's body, the copper-colored glow that enveloped it gradually faded away, replaced by a silver radiance. Silver grade. Wang Lin's eyes revealed a look of satisfaction as his gaze fell upon the ever-darkening soul essence of Lei Daoist. Serve as my puppet for 3,000 years, and I will grant you freedom. How does that sound? Lei Daoist fell silent. Even if you have a life-saving divine ability, it won't be faster than my sword chi. Wang Lin said calmly. At this moment, only 2 paths lay before Lei Daoist. The first option was to take a risk and rebel, but he knew well that although his life-saving abilities were strong, they were nowhere near the level of the sword chi. He had no doubt that if the 2 sword chi were to strike together, he would have no escape. The second option was to agree to become a puppet, to trade 3,000 years for future freedom, with the premise that the other party would keep their promise, and that he would not die in battle during those 3,000 years. Lei Daoist glanced bitterly at the puppet standing silently by his side, which had not spoken a single word since the beginning. This puppet's physical body is incredibly sturdy, able to withstand even magical treasures. It should not die in battle, right? At this moment, far away on the misty cloud star, dense fog enveloped everything within it, and a sinister aura spread out, causing all passing cultivators to avoid the area. In the Luo Heaven Star domain, Misty Cloud Star was known as a place of death. Few cultivators who entered it ever made it out alive. Suddenly, the thick fog on Misty Cloud Star began to churn violently from within, as though something was trying to break free. Gradually, the mist became even more intense. In the blink of an eye, a figure, thin and gaunt, with tattered clothes and an extremely disheveled appearance, burst forth, radiating intense fear. Ahead of him was a giant cauldron. He was on the verge of escaping the mist entirely when, just at that moment, a long, lightning-fast tentacle shot out from the fog, grabbing the gaunt figure and violently pulling him back. This person was none other than the greedy wolf. As the tentacle tightened around him, he began to plummet, his eyes filled with despair as he gazed at the swirling mist. I've spent my whole life searching for treasure, but never expected to end up like this. Wang Lin, it's all because of you. If you hadn't come to this damned Luo Heaven Star domain, how could I have been sent here? And if I hadn't been sent here, how could I have ended up on this terrifying planet?